Welcome back to VL Podcasts. Today, our hosts are going to talk about a hot new trend that's popping up in Silicon Valley hacker houses. They are also called the Air BnBs for techies. These unique living spaces are popping up all over Silicon Valley, and they're becoming the new hotbeds for startups and innovation. In this video, we'll explore how hacker houses are transforming the startup ecosystem in Silicon Valley. Are they the new breeding grounds for the next big tech giants? Stay tuned to find out. And don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so you never miss an update from Visual Learners. Let's get started.
Yeah.
On a guitar or on a keyboard, Jason Gardino's fingers move fast. He wasn't too keen on Harvard, so now he's here in Seattle. Coding. Getting projects off the ground.
That's kind of the way it works in the startup world. It's like, what do they say? Fail fast.
He lives in this pleasant North Lake home, but he's not alone.
This is what we turn into this used to be the room, we turned it into our workspace.
The 3-story house is jammed full of bunk beds, board games, and computer books. A little workstation with whatever that is, Wi-Fi, and endless outlets.
Yeah, it's a good place to be.
This is a hacker house.
We are definitely a hostel style accommodation. That's kind of what we're going for.
Hacker houses, basically Air BnB for techies. They're everywhere in the Bay Area, but here there are only a few.
We mix coders with people from other disciplines.
Andy Rebele's company Grockhome owns this one.
What they have in common is that they're all pursuing some intellectual pursuit that is what's driving them, the main thing that's going on in their life.
All right, so today we're diving into the world of hacker houses. You know, those kind of, what are they? Hives of tech creativity, right? Like you see all these stories, these images of, a bunch of techies just crammed into a house, coding all night long, living off caffeine and dreams of building the next big thing. But is it all it's cracked up to be? Like, is this just a fad? Or is there actually something deeper brewing in these shared spaces?
Well, and what's interesting is even the term like hacker house, it can be a bit misleading. I mean, it's not just about hacking in that stereotypical sense anymore. We've got these 3 sources for this deep dive, right? We've got NBC, CNBC, and Grist.
Yeah.
And they paint this picture that's, well, way more nuanced than just like hoodies and energy drinks.
But, okay, so let's unpack that a bit. When we say hacker house, what are we actually talking about? Because it can't just be about cheap rent, can it?
You're right. It's definitely much more than that. The Grist documentary, they call it Air BnB for techies, which I guess is catchy, but it goes beyond that. Think like a house, usually in a city where rent is going to, eat your entire paycheck. But it's packed with people who all share a passion, whether it's tech or maybe creativity or even just, as NBC put it, some kind of like intellectual pursuit.
So it's not just coders then. You're talking like artists, musicians, anyone who kind of fits that like driven creator mold.
Exactly. And CNBC actually honed in on this all-female founder house, which I thought was really cool because it highlights this, important aspect of diversity. This isn't just a boys' club anymore.
Okay, now that's what I'm talking about, right?
Yeah.
Breaking down stereotypes. This is how you build something new.
Mm.
But I got to ask, so many people under one roof, it's got to get kind of interesting sometimes, right?
Oh, for sure.
Grist mentioned something about a coffee robot.
Yeah. This one house in Seattle, the IO house, they actually have someone building a fully functional coffee robot.
What?
Talking about dedication, right?
Yeah.
I guess even tech geniuses need their caffeine fix. And what better way to get it than invent your own robot barista?
Okay, I mean, a coffee robot, that's seriously cool and everything. But it still doesn't fully explain, like, the hype, right?
Yeah.
It's got to be about more than just cool gadgets and saving a few bucks on rent.
You're right. It's about the why. Like, why would someone choose to live in, let's face it, what sounds like a potentially chaotic and crowded environment?
Yeah.
And all 3 of these sources kind of point to one major factor.
Okay.
Community.
Community, like more so than your average, like, shared apartment situation.
Oh, way more. NDC, they used phrases like like-minded people and fertile ground for ideas. So it's not just random roommates, right? These are driven people who are passionate about similar things.
Right.
And that just creates a different kind of energy, a synergy that I don't think you can really replicate in your typical living situation.
Yeah, so it's like this incubator for creativity, bouncing ideas off each other 24/7.
Exactly. And that's where the accelerated learning comes in and the networking. The CNBC video really highlighted this. One of the founders talked about just being surrounded by other people who are, putting in as much as you are. And that constant drive, that shared ambition, it's got to be contagious, right?
And I think CNBC also mentioned that being in a hacker house kind of increases your chances of running into like potential investors, just like organically.
Oh, absolutely. Opportunity is like built into the walls of these places. Casual conversations spark collaborations. Roommates become co-founders. But, circling back to the all-female founder house that CNBC featured.
Yeah.
I mean, that speaks to this whole other layer of community, right? Like finding your tribe, especially in a male-dominated industry.
Yeah, absolutely. Like they're creating this mini ecosystem of support.
Exactly. They talked about feeling empowered, challenging those norms, finding like your match, as they put it, in other driven women. And it's not just the residents, even their sponsors were largely women, right? So they're actively building this community that fosters diversity, challenges the status quo. I thought that was really cool.
Okay, so we've got community, we've got accelerated learning, we've got this built-in network, we've got potential investors just like hanging out by the coffee machine.
Yeah.
This is starting to sound a little too good to be true, right? I mean, what's the catch?
Okay, yeah, because like as much as I love this whole idea of, the built-in network and the never-ending inspiration and all that, I also really enjoy things like personal space.
Oh.
And, a clean bathroom once in a while.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's where that Grist documentary really, I think, shines.
Okay.
They don't shy away from like the realities of this kind of hacker house living. The messy bunk rooms, shared bathrooms, that inevitable moment when you realize, oh, you're not the only one who needs a haircut.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Like those are the kind of details that bring it back down to earth a little bit, right? Like these are real people, not just characters in some like tech utopia.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
And they highlight this key trade-off, right?
Okay.
Personal space, it kind of takes a back seat.
Yeah.
Remember they had that no lockers policy at the EO house?
Oh, yeah, that's right. Yeah, they mentioned that.
It's like open doors, shared resources.
Right.
No hiding from your housemates.
Yeah, for better or worse, right.
Exactly. So it forces the certain level of, I don't know, like a transparency and communication, You can't just disappear into your room with a bag of chips when there's nowhere to hide them.
Speaking of, you remember that whole anecdote about the stolen Pringles?
Oh, yeah.
Like, it made me wonder, is that a common occurrence in a hacker house?
Yeah.
Or is that just like, one particularly hungry or maybe trusting individual?
Yeah. I don't know who's to say.
Yeah.
But I mean, it highlights that level of trust.
Right.
Or maybe naivete,
Yeah.
that can exist in that kind of community.
Yeah.
And I don't know, I kind of find it refreshing a little bit.
Yeah.
Like even in a house full of all these brilliant minds, you're still dealing with, human nature.
Right. Quirks and all.
Exactly.
It's a good reminder.
Yeah.
Yeah, that even in like the most innovative spaces, life,
It finds a way, right?
It finds a way, exactly.
Throws in a little chaos, a little bit of humor.
Exactly, yeah. But, I mean, let's zoom out for a second.
Okay.
Like, all these things, we're talking about, this shared bathrooms, the missing Pringles, like these are all interesting details, but they kind of point to this bigger picture.
Yeah.
What is the bigger picture here?
Well, this isn't just about housing, is it?
Right.
It's about I think, the changing landscape of work.
Yeah.
The rise of remote work, the gig economy, all of that.
Right.
And hacker houses, they're kind of like this microcosm in a way of those larger trends, right?
Yeah. So are these hacker houses like a glimpse into like the future of city living?
Yeah.
Trading personal space for community and like constant collaboration.
It's a possibility, right? And it begs the question, what are we willing to sacrifice for connection, for opportunity, for a sense of belonging?
Right.
Especially in, these increasingly digital and often isolating times, right?
It's a question worth considering, for sure.
For sure.
Like if someone offered you a spot in a hacker house, would you take it?
That's the $1 million question, isn't it?
It is.
And I think the answer, I don't know, I think it really reflects our individual values, our priorities.
Yeah.
What are we willing to gain and what are we willing to give up, right?
Yeah.
It's like this fascinating social experiment and it's unfolding right in front of us.
It really is, yeah. It's a whole new world out there.
That's for sure.
And on that note, I think we'll wrap up our our deep dive into the world of hacker houses. Who knows? Maybe the future of innovation and community is, brewing in a shared kitchen somewhere, fueled by instant coffee, a whole lot of collaboration.
I like it.
Thanks for joining us.